Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Critical Zero podcast.
Hello.
And we are here with
Chris.
And Randy.
From where?
We are from Barrie, Ontario, and we are in the band AAWKS.
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 Sounds like a radio station.
AAWKS.
We're coming,
Coming live.
coming live from
No, I have to say something
AAWKS.
funny that I thought your name stood for auxiliary cable because I'm such a
Yes.
music nerd. Is that what it?
No,
No, but I was gonna
but
say that.
That's one of the better ones, though, I think.
Auxiliary.
Yeah, I know. I thought I was like, man,
The
that's
aux cable.
clever, right?
Yeah.
Like, auxiliary cable.
Yeah,
'cause
before
of
kind of
music.
phones and podcasts and all that stuff, or iPods got like, remember iPods?
Yeah.
Before all that stuff got like fancy and had no like headphone jack like they do now, you'd get your auxiliary cable, right? And you were like the DJ, so
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
the aux
yeah,
cord.
everyone loved to have the aux cord.
I know, right?
Thanks for having us, guys.
Yeah,
It's good to have you here.
it's awesome, and the show was amazing.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
You
was
guys
super
killed it.
amazing.
That was fun.
I really enjoyed just being a part of that collective of bands. It was such a good vibe and such a groovy sound all night long. It was fantastic.
I loved it. It was totally sick, and especially for taking photos. That was exciting.
Nice.
You took some of the best photos I've seen to date.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
No disrespect to
Yeah.
anyone who's taken a photo yet, but you caught a couple of angles that I was just like, wow.
Oh man, it's amazing, both of you. And as a drummer, you're the most exciting drummer to photograph. Yeah, right?
Oh yeah.
She kicks ass.
Yeah.
I may
You're my hero.
have been called a demon.
He has great drummer faces, that's for sure.
Yeah, I know, right?
I
So
sometimes wonder if she's having an orgasm back there with
Oh,
that face that she makes.
anything goes in the Critical Zero podcast.
Yeah,
Anything
Drummer
can happen
porn.
while drumming.
drummer porn, Meg.
Oh. So my first question is, how did you guys all meet?
Randy and I met on Plenty of Fish, actually.
Oh my God, I know
Yeah.
this one. I never used it, but I know this.
POF.
POF. Yep, we met on Plenty of Fish, and it was awesome. It was a great date that we had.
It was nerve wracking.
For her.
Ridiculous.
It was a joy for me, but Randy was very nervous.
And I did not stop talking, and I made sure to have zero silence so that my awkwardness was just me spilling words constantly.
That's how I roll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She took all the pressure
Totally
off of
the
me.
same. Yeah, exactly.
I had zero pressure. I just kind of like watched the Randy show happen.
Yeah. Okay, but what about the other guys in the band? How'd you meet
Yeah,
them?
you didn't meet them on Plenty of Fish, did you?
I did
Maybe.
not, unfortunately.
The whole story. Sorry. See?
So I met Bob and Dan in the 90s, mid 90s. I was going to college, to Georgian College in Barrie, Ontario. And I went to a jazz club one night to see some live jazz. And
Nice.
they pulled up this kid who was 16, our buddy Ian Ross, still phenomenal guitarist. And he was this tall, skinny guy with a big kind of afro. And he just ripped on the guitar. Like, I was like, God, this kid is amazing. And then a couple weeks went by, and I'd put out an ad for a band, and he answered it. And I was like, hey, you're the kid I saw at the jazz thing. And he was part of a big musical, like teenage kind of musical community. I was a bit older than those guys. And from there, we just were in a bunch of bands over the years. So, yeah, I played in a number of bands with Dan and Bob over the years.
Wow, so you have like a long history.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're
With
in
those
the
guys
20
for sure.
plus year club of like collaborating together. It's
Yeah,
neat
we
to
did.
watch them.
Nice.
Dan played drums, Ian played guitar, and I was on bass for many years. And we did like the 4-hour cover like house band thing for a long time. So we kind of like, developed our chops and stuff over the years, like playing that those kind of deals. And a lot of songs I wasn't really into, but it was good practice.
Yeah, fair.
So yeah.
That's interesting because I did have a question about how you knew Dan was the perfect fit. He was the last one to be added to the band, I think. Right?
He was, yep. So Dan is like the
our
perfect utility man because
Yeah, exactly.
he plays every instrument really well. He sings well. He writes. He's just like, he's got one of those amazing, he used to play this video game back in the 90s. I'd go over to his house and I don't know the name of the game, but
Oh God, I'm so intrigued.
it was like a maze, like this crazy maze, and they would have this floating spaceship, and it was just how fast can you get through this maze, right?
I don't know this game.
Don't know it? Yeah.
Yeah,
You know?
I'm an old school
message Dan and
gamer.
get you the
Yeah,
answer.
I wanted to hook up.
So Dan would memorize these mazes that were unbelievably complicated, and to watch him play it, he knew when it was a left, right, up, and down,
That's
around, whatever.
amazing.
And he would fly through these. So needless to say, his memory is insane. And I've asked him before, and he said when he learns a song or is listening to a song, he hears the whole thing at once.
Wow.
So he can skip he's an invaluable guy to have in the band.
That's amazing.
He's currently in 5 or 6 bands. So
Wow.
He's an indispensable member, and we're lucky to have him make time for us.
I'm sad we couldn't have all the members today, but it's because we have limited gear. We're starting off in our podcast, so it's been tricky, But we're glad to hear more about them. That's really nice.
and Bob is also a phenomenal
Bob.
dude and a gem.
We love you too. Don't worry.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love Bob. Bob is the funniest person I know. So Randy can attest to that.
Bob has this unique aura about him that he could say nothing for 30 minutes, but that moment he says something, tears. You're laughing too hard, the tears come, you don't know what happened.
You
You're
need
like,
that,
"Nailed
especially
it."
when you're touring. That's going to be an important
Yeah.
role.
Definitely. Yeah.
We should have him on the podcast too.
I
Just
know, right?
Just a Bob show.
yeah.
Yes.
Just let Bob go.
Can we do like
I
a
would
stand-up
tune
thing
in.
for him?
Yeah.
Set the stage.
For sure.
Yeah.
Speaking about the touring thing, do you guys have any plans to tour?
We have some long-term plans for sure. There was a couple bands in the States that were reaching out to us to say, hey, do you guys want to come down and play?
Sick.
And I was like, absolutely. But, there's the work visa thing. There's the fact that we all have kids and day jobs.
Adult life.
And yeah. So, I mean, there's some planning that's going to have to happen, but absolutely, yeah. That's in the
Definitely,
works.
I guess we should mention that you have your new album that's out. I don't think
Yes.
we even mentioned that yet. So,
As of
we're
Friday.
working slowly on this. Yeah.
I got the
it's
cassette.
Awesome. I listened to it all last night
yeah,
when I
me
was
too.
working on the photos. So that was my inspiration, for
Nice.
editing them and doing.
Thank you.
Yeah,
It
it's
is
great.
amazing, and it's all I feel like you have to listen to it front to back, because that's what I did. I put it on, and it all kind of just blended into this nice experience, which is awesome.
Thank
I
you.
love the
And that's-
sound is
Yeah.
impeccable, and
Yeah.
you're quite meticulous. I heard.
Yeah,
Which I think is amazing, and
for
I
sure.
think that's
Oh, yeah.
amazing, and that's what makes a solid album.
I can get pretty anal about that kind of stuff.
Bless
So.
Bless
need to be,
Zach
Yeah.
really.
Horvath's heart. Him at Z Hollow Studios worked in and out of work hours all the time to get just the right working piece for each song, and they did great. The two of them were really
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Yeah, Zach's
You guys
amazing.
nailed it.
yeah.
Zach's
Nailed
got
it.
some skills.
I love
for
it that you called the whole thing an experience, because that's what I feel it is. There's almost like this untold story, because it could be your story, it could be my story, and it's totally different, but that trip is in there. It's a psychedelic run through the sounds
Yeah.
and scapes, and you can picture it. And there's like a couple songs where I tell him every time those guys just start up their guitars and bass, I'm in the van. I'm going down a desert highway. I
Yes.
hear it in my head, and I'm like, oh, let's do this. Let's go. So I love it that you call it experience, because that's exactly what I get out of it.
Oh yeah, totally.
Well, yeah, no, and there's definitely some really, really cool samples in there that I also heard you guys do live.
Yeah.
We do, yep. Yeah, I've got this sampling pedal that I
Such a great idea.
queued all the samples up on, and yeah, it's fun to trigger those. I like to add, I think it adds a bit to the show.
Yeah. Is it? Do you find it a challenge using samples when you're playing live as well?
It can be. It's mostly my fault actually, because there's this thing in like the recording, world called unity gain, right? Which is like getting an equal amount of volume on all your tracks, and dumb me, I don't have unity gain on my samples, so luckily I've got a volume on the sample pedal, but I'm constantly having to adjust it, in the middle of a song, because some of them are crazy loud and then some of them are really quiet. So,
Or he gets so excited in the set and playing in the crowd, then all of a sudden he's like, oh, tick, 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 next sample, where is it? I'm late for it. You're like, aww.
That's what I always worried about was timing, because I write my own music as well, and a lot of the stuff that I do is sample based, I guess, with some of the stuff that I used Ableton Live.
Oh yeah.
When I was creating some of the songs, and so not just samples, but I make the samples too, you know. But it's not something that a band could play.
Right.
Right. So I would always worried about how that would work on a
You
timing
trigger it on
level.
the downbeat or whatever.
Yeah, if it would time right. It sounded like a nightmare for me, so congratulations.
Sometimes feels like
I'm
you're
really
juggling,
great.
right? Because like I'll be in the middle of a guitar riff while I'm singing,
Mad respect.
and then also have to hit the sample pedal right at the right time. And I've got a bad hip because I'm getting
no.
old, so I'll be balancing on one leg, and I'm like, okay, I hit it at the right time. Like, thank God I hit it at the right time. Got to remember the words. Got to remember the riff. And then I got to remember, to listen to Randy to cue me in on the hi-hats or something, right? And it's like every time it works, I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
So before we get into the recording, because we're gonna ask you a lot of questions about how you guys recorded,
Please.
because I'm excited to hear as a gear nerd. I want to ask you about the songwriting process. How does that work for you guys?
Yes, Chris. How does that work?
I know it's a very general question because everybody's so different. But what's like your?
I usually go to sleep and then I wake up and a song's just in my head.
Come on.
Front to back. No.
way.
I wish.
Lies. We have lies. Facts.
No, I mean, it's just I have that kind of pressure always building. Like I have to sit down and write riffs, and like sometimes they'll kind of half pop into my head, and I'll sit down and kind of work it out or change it up on the guitar a little bit. But usually starts with a riff or an idea or kind of an inspiration. And there's fantasy art. I'm into this I'm into all sorts of art, but I really dig, especially for this music, for inspiration, fantasy artists. And I'll look at a piece and I'll make up the whole kind of story about what I think that piece is about. And then and I mix it in with some experiences we've had, or maybe an idea or a concept of some kind. And then the song kind of goes from there.
So the watchers can Google it. What's one of those fantasy artists that you enjoy?
Frank Frazetta's my big one.
There's the one.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, well, the artwork even for the album is stunning.
Yes, yeah.
Right?
So
that was one of the first things we noticed.
Yeah.
And that was a collab with a local Barrie graphic designer named Sean Alton, who's awesome. He does great work.
Fly Graphics.
Yeah, Fly Graphics, yeah. So he was, and same thing, like we went back and forth a bunch of times, and anytime you're like collaborating with someone creatively, you got to kind of like, if you have the vision in your head and they're the one that has the skills, it's like you're trying to kind of
It's tricky.
get to a middle place, right? A middle ground. So we went back and forth a whack of times and finally came up with it.
I appreciate
Stunning.
all of it, but the real heartbeat of the band is Chris's brain. So I've said this time and time again, is that whatever song he's trying to put out or put together or whatever, he's already heard it before he's even showed us it. It's in there.
Yeah.
So same with the art, same with the inspiration. A lot of it, we're watching him unfold these things, and he'll be like, that's not quite it, this a little more this, a little less this, which is totally cool. But I keep telling him, because he'll be like, did you like that? I'm like, no, did you like that? Because it's already there. That product is in his head, and it's always wonderful once we all get it, because then I'm like, it's kind of nice to kind of get inside there and be like, so this is what you were thinking about this whole time. Nice.
And that's hard when you're working with someone. I know I had bad experiences in the past working with people, and
band chemistry is a funny thing, right?
Bad, but
Totally. And it's not always about skill. Like I've played with really killer players, and sometimes the best stuff doesn't come of that. Like I like this little crew that we've got because we're not necessarily the most skilled people, but I feel like we gel in a way where it's fun and effortless,
Yeah.
Like things just happen. So I like that.
tight and polished. That'd be a very good way. Like everything is just.
I'm happy you say polished. I mean, it takes a while to get there sometimes. Like they start off a bit janky.
I feel that with the album,
It's got a raw feeling too, like the
Yeah, but I
album
mean, when I
sounds
say polished, I don't mean like in a top 40
Yeah.
polished. I mean that all the qualities of each element shine.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's what I was trying.
Try to
say.
cut all the
Sorry,
fat
I didn't want
off
it to
and-
come off like.
Oh no,
I'm
that was a
actually
compliment.
Really
man. I
not into
appreciate it.
top 40 music that much.
And I know Chris didn't touch on it, but a lot of these songs have to do with, good substances.
Of course, right?
Like mushrooms.
I don't know what she's talking
Like
about.
psychedelics. Like the stuff that really streams the colors and the vibes and the melding that happens. That's in there.
Yeah, I can
You've
see
all
that.
seen it.
That's
Yeah,
why I love
Yeah,
it.
just like-
I mean, I got
You know.
the sense.
Yeah, exactly, right. I think there is a sample where they talk about
Right at the
peyote.
beginning, that's
Yes.
one of
Yeah,
the most
exactly.
favorite
Right.
samples.
Yeah.
Exactly. I was like, I think that was a ghetto.
Taken from one of those amazing like American public service announcements, like scary psychedelic drugs, like
Well,
stay away from them.
Fear of loathing vibe going on.
Yeah.
Fear and loathing
Cool.
Las Vegas vibe.
That's
I
a good
feel
vibe.
that. I feel that.
I love it.
So, how do you think your sound has evolved to what it is now from what it
that's a good
was
question.
when you released because you had an EP as well
Yep.
come out?
And we played a bit before that, so we kind of started off a bit more like indie rock almost,
Really
way back. Yeah,
fast and
it was. Yeah, it was more. So there's this band called Jeff the Brotherhood from Tennessee that I'm obsessed with, and they kind of have this like. It's somewhere between the Ramones and Nirvana, maybe,
Wow.
I'd say.
Oh, I
That's
will check them
interesting.
out.
Yeah, I wanna
They're
check
excellent.
them
Yeah.
out.
Really, really good. So I was really on, like when we started the band, I was really on a Jeff the Brotherhood vibe, train, whatever. And I was writing stuff in that vein, and it just didn't quite come to fruition. And I was like, you know what? Like I've been into Sabbath since I was 5 or 4 or something, right? And I'm like, I want to write Black Sabbath meets whatever, like Fu Manchu or whatever other, great band I'm into. And I was like, I'm not going to do the Jeff the Brother thing anymore. I'm going to do the Sabbath, like groovy fuzz rock thing and see what happens. And it just it worked.
Yeah.
So
It's perfect for you guys.
And on our EP, we had a wonderful bassist named Jen Stringer, and her harmonies were insane. So when you listen to those and you hear her singing, like that voice of hers just was this haunting melody that just added a nice little touch. And sadly, real life took over, so she had to step back. But then that's when we gained Dan. And it's been interesting to see us go from that kind of your original fast-paced, heavy indie rock. Then it went into that doom vein. And now we've added in some desert, good times, vibes, and grooves, and the riffs and the fuzz. And now that's this great little...
there's going to be a lot more cowbell coming up, I think.
Always more cowbell.
Well, now, you mentioned Doom. I need to hear more about the legend of the Doomicorn. How did this start?
So that's Randy, actually. That's Randy's baby.
So it was this moment where we were having a few different gentlemen come as bassists and kind of feel us out and see if we were a fit for them or not. Dan had stepped in here and there just to help us with jam time. But he kept telling us, I can't commit. I'm in too many bands. There's too much going on. And we totally respected that. So there came this point where Pale Horse Promotions wanted a photo. They're like, we need a photo of the band. We don't have anything. And the old photos had Jen in it. And it was like, okay, cool. We need a photo now. And so we dressed up my 15-year-old daughter in all black. And we put this unicorn head on her. And ever since that photo went out, people were just like, what's that about? What is this?
I think that's the photo I used, actually, for the spotlight.
So it created itself into this entity, and I was like, I'm not letting that sleep. I want that to continue
Keep that
on.
going.
Yeah.
So now I've elected people where maybe it takes a couple of free beers or something, but I'm like, we need the Doomicorn, and I named it the Doomicorn because I was just like, this unicorn is too good to be true, so it is a Doomicorn. and it's amazing the reaction it gets and the love it gets from people.
I loved
and
it.
It just has to keep going. And we've actually considered a second Doomicorn because we have a couple of regulars who have now determined that there might be some competition to be had.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Maybe
Is this
in
the-
5 years from now, you'll have an entire crowd of...
Oh my
Just
God,
everybody
that would be
wearing
amazing.
Start your own
That would be
army of
excellent.
Doomicorn.
Oh yeah, and I feel like that spells out what I feel about the band is that we can be heavy and rock and get dirty and whatever, but at the same time but let's be colorful and kooky
Have
and
fun,
fun. And,
Yeah.
you know, you can't put me in a box. It's not going to happen. So I'm going to go outside and do something a little offbeat so it stays forever.
Fantastic. It was fantastic.
I may or may not have started like a healthy little rivalry too between our two main unicorns. Like, so there's a guy named Gary from Barrie who.
Because I met him at the show. He's
Right.
like, I'm Gary from Barrie.
So
I
he's
never
our
forgot.
he's our main
gonna
kind
find
of
him.
Doomicorn.
Yeah.
And then you guys know the Slime, obviously,
Yes,
right?
Yeah.
So their bass player, vocalist CD
Yeah.
was an excellent Doomicorn.
I can see that.
he-
He was at the show, right? Was he?
Yes, he
So,
was,
yes.
and he killed it for us. So I had to tell Gary that CD kind of one-upped him, and that created a bit of a
So we're going to see
some
what goes down.
competition. Yeah.
I love it.
I like to see a challenge.
Now that you say challenges, I want to bring it to the studio. What are some of you find the best challenges you face in the studio when recording this album?
So, I mean, ideally, we would go into a studio that had isolation, and we could record all the instruments live off the floor and get that energy. But I think, like at our level, we don't have access to that. If we all had tens of millions of dollars and the ability to have a phenomenal studio with isolation, great rooms, all the mics we want, we would do that. But I find a challenge is doing the bed track and then overdub thing. I'm not a big fan of that. I like the idea of songs speeding up and slowing down, like those old, 60s and 70s recordings that we all love, where, the track might start at 120 BPM, but it ends at 135. And, I'm not a big fan of the idea of playing to a click track. I think it kind of kills the vibe. So we chose not to record to a click track, much to Zach's chagrin, because he's the one that has to, go in there and maybe fix a few mistakes here and there, and it can be a real pain in the ass to do that.
Yeah.
So luckily he's saddled with those, those things, and I'm not, because I've tried recording and mixing and doing all that stuff, and I hate it. I really don't like it. So I'm glad we have Zach to do that. But I would say that's the number one challenge, is doing the kind of piece part by part. We start with vocals, guitar, scratch track, and then drums, and then we build on that drum part. So, I mean, maybe in the future we'll have access to a live type recording, but that's the biggest thing for me. Other than that, oh, that's okay. No, other than that, I could record all day long, every single day. Like I love it. I love being in that setting.
I laugh because my biggest challenge for recording was my nerves. It was my first time.
Oh, wow.
So to suddenly be kind of all eyes and ears on me, I was just like, oh man, like this is going to be the worstest and the bestest.
But she killed it. She's been in the studio twice now, and she destroyed, man. She's awesome.
But it was very humbling, and it was really awesome to push through those, because it's just like any other thing. If you're learning a sport or a skill or whatever, it's another piece of that pie. So like getting in there and like having to go over and over, or nailing it or whatever, it was nice to push through and feel like I got that under my belt, and I did it good. And Zach and Ryan were so patient with me, which was really wonderful, because the two of them were there to really they were just like the most positive people. Like they were like, don't worry, you got this. Like, so it was really great. And the space was very, Zach's starting out too with his production with Z Hollow Studios. So, he's making the best space he can out of his home to create a recording piece. And he did really great with what he had. And he put such great things together. And I think poor Bob, almost got the cops called on.
He did, yeah.
Do tell.
That would be Bob's biggest challenge.
So we play at like stage volume in this like ground level house with neighbors like closer than you guys have had neighbors.
Oh my
and
God.
yeah, and they're like senior, probably age like curmudgeon senior kind of people. So we're like recording, and it was really loud, and we kept hearing this like tick, 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 tick on the front window, and then finally we look over and we see this old man like the scowl on his face, and we go up and we can hear you like 3 blocks away. We tested it. We walked all the way. We could hear you, and we're gonna call the cops if you don't like stop it right away. And it was like early on in the session, So we had to improvise and build some makeshift isolation panels and stuff.
Amazing.
Yeah, so we made it work.
I love this story.
It didn't happen. It didn't happen when I did drums. It didn't happen when you did your guitars.
Yeah.
But Bob
was
pulled out all the stops.
quite a few dB louder than I was.
Oh yeah. Bob's a
What
giver.
amp was he using?
He uses a Roland jazz chorus, like a 90-watt Roland jazz chorus, and then an AC-15, Vox AC-15, right?
AC had to be involved.
Yeah, it's always the box.
That explains a lot.
Yeah, I love the sound of Vox amps, like
me
that
too.
chimey, beautiful, like juicy chimey upper end, high end that they have. So yeah, he uses that combo. I think he is looking at getting a stack just to be a bit more, like stereotypical doom stoner guy. But I really love his
Is he
tone.
having stack envy from you? You heard me, Bob. Stack envy.
I know, right?
And then I was gonna ask this. So since we're getting into gear, what is a piece of gear that you guys just can't live without, other than your instrument? Like, what is the one thing that is like very significant in the record?
Oh, definitely the fuzz pedals. I mean, yeah, we have, both of us have stacks of fuzz pedals on our board. I currently have 3, and I think Bob has at least 2 plus a couple overdrive pedals. So yeah, I would say that's kind of the centerpiece, like for timbre.
What were you saying that Dan had too today? You were talking about Dan's pedals.
Dan uses a distortion or a fuzz pedal of some kind on his bass sometimes, but most of the time he's clean. He'll hit the distortion just for like an extra boost here and there. Mm-hmm. That, and I think, yeah, like I like lots of effects on the vocals, like a reverb and delay and a bit of like a modulation of some kind, whether it's like
I
chorus
enjoyed
or...
that actually.
Yeah.
When you were doing sound check, I noticed you had the voice of God.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no,
I was like, baby, you need to get this. Like hitting up. Like,
really enhances the psychedelic
I love
aspect
it.
of it,
I love
right?
it. I love your
Makes you
vocals,
sound like you're in a different dimension or
Yeah,
whatever,
Gives another layer of sound or
Absolutely.
different things that you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that upset the sound guys?
Yes.
That's
fun part, isn't it?
my. I wanted to get one for a while too, and then I'm like, how is this gonna work with them?
Yeah,
Yes.
But you gotta
it's
do
your
it. I mean, it's
band,
your
you gotta
voice,
do.
it's your tone.
Yeah.
And if it's a sound you really like, if the song isn't complete without it, it's got to happen, right?
Yeah.
And I think that they learn to grow in their venues that this is going to happen from time to time.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to finesse the sound guy a little bit, do a little bit of a dance. And I think sound guys, they deal with a lot of,
They do.
music
Yeah.
douchebags.
We had a teacher who taught us live sound, and he
Yeah.
used to have, say, colorful things to say about some of the, especially
Yeah.
lead guitarists.
Yeah.
They
How
won't
they're
turn
always
down.
overpowering the
That guy.
vocals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's the big struggle is they turn their amps up, and I've seen this a lot, even with Pedro.
Yeah.
He turns his amp up too loud, and you can't hear his vocals.
I
That
don't
happens.
think
You get
that's
so
possible,
excited. Oh, definitely. It's in the frequency.
Guitars are never
frequency
too loud.
spectrum. It can happen.
We never do that.
Never.
They just need to turn our vocals up.
That's
Yeah.
right. Turn everything up, man. Just keep turning it up. I want like the sound to like hold me up if I lean against it.
Yeah.
It definitely works.
That's about right.
Yeah.
Randy, do you have anything that you feel was essential?
Well, you fell in love with it. You saw it.
I
It's my
did.
human organ transplant bag.
Yes.
I need it beside my drums. It is
Yes.
my security blanket. It is my little pièce de résistance, and it holds my snacks and extra little accoutrement that I might need at any point in time. So if you need a hair elastic, I got you. If you need a little extra drum key or a little nut, I got it. It's all in there.
We'll have to get one for Jack.
Yeah. I
Bag ever.
We get lots of questions about that bag.
All the time.
I love it. I made sure. to
And
get
I
photos
need
of
it right
Yeah,
near me
definitely.
when it's
We
time
haven't
to
posted
play.
any photos of that. You should do that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, I was saying I made sure it was in the photos.
Yep.
Yeah. I asked actually to take one specifically, but things got too crazy.
Yeah. Next show.
Yeah. Next one.
So I'm excited to hear that you guys are planning to play some shows in the States too.
What areas actually? Is it okay to ask?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
I mean,
curious about
it's-
the demographics of like what areas have desert rock and doom.
But there's definitely pockets of scenes all over the states.
California, maybe.
California would be a
Arizona.
dream. Would be
Wow.
amazing. Arizona's got
Arizona
feet.
seems to have a great doom
Arizona,
scene.
yeah, that makes sense. The desert.
I think like Illinois. There's a big Northeast scene as well.
Yeah.
Like New York and Ohio and kind of Midwestern scene. Like Illinois got a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Realistically, I don't know at this point, but
It's
if we
hard
could
to
do a
get the
full
visa.
tour, it would be phenomenal. Like, I think realistically, we'll probably do like a Northeast thing to start. So, because we could drive not too far from here, do a circuit. We have some relatives there that we could probably stay with,
Sweet.
and see how it goes from there. We went to see a band called Monolord in Detroit back in March, and while we were there, we kind of we networked a bit.
Yeah.
Made some connections with some local bands
Made some
that
Michigan friends.
Nice.
that
Hello,
were interested in
Michigan.
doing some shows.
Yeah.
And there's always the question of getting a work visa, which I think is about $350 per band member to tour down there. So you don't want to make it worth your while, right? You don't want to go down there and come back owing $5,000, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have to. I think it's like it's roughly around that. Plus, you have to have press in the United States. If I
really?
remember reading about it,
I didn't know
because
that.
I used to do bookings for DJs in the
okay.
United States, and it was something around $2,000, I think.
right.
Right, and then you have to have press from United States showing that that you're
Proving things.
Yeah,
Like
that you're
the receipt.
legit. They
Interesting.
make it very difficult on musicians. I think
Yeah.
that's probably why Neil Young used to just go and hide and go
Right.
play music without
So-
telling them.
People keep saying that, and then I read this horrific article about this band from Vancouver
My God.
that did that, and then they got
No.
banned for 5 years from going to the States to play, and like I was like, I don't want that to happen.
No,
No.
not at all. It's
5
tough.
years is a
man.
long
We
time.
definitely got to do our research and do our homework and
Yeah.
pre-planning and so that'll take time and effort, but it's just wonderful even knowing that since our singles came out and it gained a little interest, and then that second single came out, a little more interest, and then as the full album was getting ready to be released, we started having people just reaching out and giving positivity and like, if you come this way or if you want to come this way. It was really flattering because it's one of those things like they've only heard us, they don't know us, but they're already interested and positively in the scene and community of things. Like, we support you, we will go back
That's
and forth.
sick. It's sick.
Yeah, so it
Yeah.
was really wonderful, and
I know, right?
I really loved it because it was very like heartwarming and stuff. You were like, oh, you doomy little guys, black shirts and white hair. Like, thank you.
I think if you have it go in with good energy, then everything will just unroll for you. That's what
Yeah.
I've noticed in the scene. Work hard, good energy, good vibes.
Absolutely, yeah. And I found that
guys
too,
have
like
that.
within the doom and like kind of metal community, there's a lot of like super nice people. They have this like veneer of not being that way, but then you talk to them and they're like the nicest people in the world. You know?
Right.
No pretense, just good people. So I
Can
dig that.
confirm.
Yeah.
Now the real question is, which Doomicorn are you gonna take on tour?
Ooh.
He's
So-
gonna battle, have a
That's
battle
the
out.
real.
So to deepen the story a little bit,
What?
Gary from Barrie is actually my husband-in-law. I don't know if you guys know what the husband-in-law is.
I'll let you explain.
So husband-in-law is the ex-husband of your current partner,
Aw.
who you're in love with,
Yes, of course.
and deeply in love with Gary from Barrie.
Yes.
He's a gem. He's a sweetheart of a.
Gem.
He's
Yes.
just
And
an
I just met
awesome
him.
guy.
Yeah.
I called him a legend the other day.
Yeah.
The other day I was like, you're the legendary Gary. Gary from Barrie. He's like, I'm a legend already. I'm like, you
Still
are.
swirling from that one. You got him good on that. I can appreciate it.
So as much as I love CD, I think we would have to go with family.
Yeah.
Family first.
Yeah.
Any plans for vinyl?
Absolutely, yeah. Actually, it's finally we were supposed to announce it at our show, but I got like too swept up in the show and forgot.
We were having fun.
But yeah, Precision Pressing is doing it. Should be ready end of November-ish.
Yes.
So it's all in the works.
Vinyl.
It's submitted. We're just waiting for test pressings and go from there.
That's
Dang backlog.
I
I'd love
need
to have it
one
sooner.
now.
Yeah.
Wanted
Well, we
one.
got the cassette,
Yeah,
right?
we got the
so,
cassette.
tell me about the experience about changing your music and from digital to cassette. You worked
Yeah.
with, was it, I don't want to say
Yeah.
the name wrong.
Tarantula Tapes.
Okay, good. I was just making sure.
You got
Yes,
it.
Tarantula.
Yeah, Tarantula. So Corey and Casey are in a bunch of bands in Barrie. Heavy Petter, Speed Humps, Angry Spells. I
They
think
have solo work as well.
solo work. That's
Yep.
right.
We'll try to link all this.
I know.
So-
You know,
Sorry,
because
we're
this
gonna
is a
name
great
off about
educational experience.
30 to 300 things.
So
Thank you
there's
for
they're
sharing.
excellent
Seriously.
people. They live like a stone's throw from us in Barrie, and we connected because Casey reached out to us. She came to see us play once, and then dug our sound and said, "Let's get on some bills." So she hooked us up with some more shows, and we just ended up becoming really good friends, having beers and hanging out and whatever. And they were like, "Yeah, we got this tape label, Tarantula Tapes," and they did mostly kind of punk stuff.
Yep.
At the time, I think they're branching out a little bit now, but we were like, we would be honored to be on your label, and it
amazing.
just worked out. So
Or their 33rd release.
33rd release, yeah.
So
So
they
check out Tarantula Tapes. They
Oh,
got
yeah.
a bunch of awesome stuff.
And then it was wonderful that they had talked and collaborated with Northern Haze, who he's at a Sudbury, and wanted to actually collaborate on it because he dug our sound so much. So it was really great to do a tape release and then also make it unique for Tarantula Tapes, getting the one color tape and then doing another color tape just for Northern Haze.
Oh.
Because we were so grateful that two of them were putting their trust in us and in our sound and wanted to help us release it.
I think Northern Haze got involved too because Tarantula kind of knows the ins and outs of the punk world, but not really our genre so much. So they reached out to Northern Haze, and he does a lot of distribution for all sorts of stoner rock stuff. So he's released stuff like by Woe Fat and Fu Manchu and like a bunch of other bands and stuff, right? So they reached out, and initially I think he was like, well, who are these people? And then checked us out, and he was like interested enough, and we've been like super happy to be part of that. So
How many cassettes in total?
we only did a short run of 50 to start to see how it went, and I think that was Friday, and we've sold 25. So
where can people get them if they want to get them? Because sounds like it's a kind of a collector's.
This is
thing.
what
It's-
we'll link
Get
it.
it now,
Yeah,
now,
we will.
people,
First run
now.
it's done. So there's I think what 10 or 15 left at Northern Haze or something like that.
Tarantula
And
sold out.
Tarantula sold out, and we have a
And
couple in our merch bin.
I was about
So
to say
that's
we
it.
have a few physical copies, so at our live shows you can pick them up.
So you're saying each one is a different color, right? So maybe I should pick up the other one.
Yeah.
We'll have both.
And so when we do our next order, it's going to be a different color.
Oh, I
So
love
that-
it.
So that those first ones, because for us that was a big first for us, and that's something special. So those kind of first 50 people, you're getting that kind of piece of our history that we're really proud of, and then the next run will be another piece of that, right? So
And then for the hardcore, they buy every single one.
yeah, then you can
exactly,
collect them all.
right.
Yeah.
There's a green one on the way.
Yeah, is that what we're thinking?
Nice.
For the green lovers out there.
I think that's like one of the best strategies right now because merchandise as well is like one of the bloodlines for a band now, because you don't make any money off of music unless
Very little.
very little. It's insane.
Yeah.
Like Tidal is probably the one that you make the most money off of. I can't remember what the numbers are, but Spotify is so low. It's insane.
Oh yeah, it's like a
It's
thousandth of a
basically
cent or
promo.
something.
That's it. That's about it.
Pretty much.
So buy their merch, support great bands,
Yes.
Bandcamp Fridays are nice too.
buy T-shirts.
And
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
I also got one, but I didn't
We
wear it
actually,
today.
yeah, he wore his for yesterday.
So that's actually a Sean Alton design as well. The guy that did our cover did that
I
design.
love it. What's
Yeah.
funny is they didn't have my size, so he bought this one, and then I bought a different one. Remember?
Yep.
And then we ended up changing because in the end,
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? I'll just wear the big one. And he wanted the other one.
So there's a big doom scene in like Indonesia and Southeast Asia and all that kind of area, and there's a bunch of great bands from those areas and a bunch of really good designers. So the other shirt, the Wizard shirt, was designed by a guy named Steven Yoyoda.
That was the one you had, right?
Yeah.
The wizard
Yeah.
shirt.
I love that
one.
one.
So I think he's from like Philippines maybe or
Amazing.
Indonesia or something like that. So anyways, I was like, he's worked with a bunch of really awesome bands, and I was super honored to snag him to do that shirt.
That's
Yeah.
sick. No, they're gorgeous merch. Gorgeous.
And he kind of really nailed what you were hoping for.
Oh, yeah.
through your communication. Like he really had like that pinpointed and figured it out really quickly. It was really awesome.
Remember initially though the wizard looked a bit too evil for us.
Make him a little bit more happy.
He was missing a nose. He didn't have his nose, and I was like, okay, you got to put a nose on him because like it just looks too dark, man.
Were you like a
Always
Lord
a
of the
nose.
Rings fan or like
Oh, yeah,
Dungeons
all
and
that stuff.
Dragons?
I love all that stuff.
All
Yeah,
right,
absolutely.
yeah.
I feel like you guys would fit levitation sessions
Yeah,
really
have you
well.
checked
Have you
the
checked out
levitation
levitation
I
sessions?
love levitation
I
sessions.
know, and I
Yeah.
think Black Budget too. Sorry, I'm just
Yeah,
throwing
yeah.
that out there.
Yeah, no, I've watched a bunch. We're big wind hand fans, and they had a great levitation session that we.
like they're really cool, and I think you guys fit that aesthetic. And
Totally.
the desert vibe of like, I think what band was it? The OCs. I think
OCs, I love those
Oh,
guys too.
they were in the desert with a bunch of lights.
Sick.
And they had the session there. It's really really cool.
I don't
stuff.
party anymore, so the music is what in the scene is my
Yes.
version of partying, I guess. You
Oh,
know,
it's
I
really-
get the whole drug experience without doing any
Yeah.
eating or drinking.
Yeah. Yeah, we watched the wind hand one was during the lockdown, so they did it the levitation session and like there was no crowd. And I guess there isn't normally a crowd, right? But it was like very much looked like a quarantine type session, and we
Nice.
watched it in our garage.
Yeah.
Oh,
With like I think at the time you were allowed 5 people at your house. I think we had 2 or 3 other people playing
Yep.
cards in our jam space,
Yep.
and we watched that wind hand levitation session.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like my birthday party. And my birthday's in April, so it was always
Okay.
lockdowns.
Yep.
And but we have to have everybody outside if possible. That was a rough time.
Yeah.
And especially for artists. How did you guys survive besides playing cards?
So
You can stay motivated too as
Yeah.
a band, right?
Because
We're
big
big-
music and create.
big Crokinole fans. Play a lot of
Crokinole.
Crokinole. Do you guys
Okay.
know that game?
Play
No.
Crokinole.
No.
Oh, it's a great Canadian game.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like shuffleboard, but on a flat board you put on your table and you just flick chips. It's a great drinking game because no matter how drunk you are, you can still play, and there's not a lot of strategy where you have to think about stuff. It's more of like a reacting type game.
Yeah.
So we played a lot of Crokinole in the garage. Music.
We played a lot of music.
Yeah.
Vinyl sales were insane. I know I have a friend who owns a vinyl shop, and they were
Nice.
just saying like this was the best money they ever made because people
Yeah,
really
I
wanted to
love
go back
vinyl.
to vinyl during
You
quarantine.
do have a vinyl addiction. You do.
Well, actually, I think I'm pretty good because like
now.
if I bought everything that I wanted to buy, we would be broke.
Yes.
There.
Yes.
But I try to.
If it's
realistic.
not fuzz pedals, it's vinyl.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, I definitely have a pedal addiction, 100%.
What's your favorite fuzz?
My favorite fuzz right now is the Big Muff for
Nice.
sure. Yeah, I'm always going for that early Fu Manchu sound, and that was their main thing. So they used Marshall heads. Yeah, I think they used JCM 800s or maybe 900s, but they used the silver, the big silver Big Muff, which is like mostly box. Like if you open that thing, there's very little inside. I don't know why the box is so freaking huge.
It's like Amazon.
Size
You
one.
know what they say?
Yeah,
Order
Big
something
Muff,
like this
size
and
matters.
then you-
Yeah, exactly. But I use a Big Muff stack,
Nice.
and that's like my favorite. Bob doesn't use Big Muffs. He uses can't remember who he uses, but Frost Giant or something like that. But I like the Big Muff sound. It's got the warm,
Yeah,
woolly,
legend.
warm, fat,
Yeah.
juicy sound. Mhm.
I mean, we can really dive into gear, but then this video will be like
Yeah,
6
I
hours
know,
long.
Yeah.
I want to just say thank you guys
Yeah,
Mm.
totally.
coming out here and pulling a killer show also, because that was a really good show. Fan for life.
Yeah,
Oh,
for sure.
thank you very
Well, we were
much.
already fans before the show.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Supporting
all the-
each other on social media.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
gosh.
Thank you. All the bands on the bill
Totally.
were a blast to
Yeah,
play
it
with
was
and
amazing.
killed it. Like Black Budget was amazing. You guys were so tight, and
You guys, yeah.
you
Black
guys
Budget
hit some
killed
peaks
it.
there that were like you're just shredding. Like, it was phenomenal.
It was
Your
so much
drummer
fun.
he hits so hard. And,
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
how many times we've seen him break a drum kit.
Oh, I bet,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah,
I
we-
bet.
And we
The
always
kick
ask, is
moves
this
up
thing
forward.
down
Yeah.
properly? Because
He has to
the
carry
kick drum tries
bricks.
to go for a walk.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has bricks in his car. If you cylinder blocks or like sandbags that you just puts in front of the kick
Wow.
I
drum.
never thought of that.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Remember that. There's been shows where
Yeah.
literally the entire kit has gone out,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
goes back in, and then it goes back out.
The first time they played at Hard Luck, or at least as Black Budget, I was there, and the drums decided to go for a walk, and we had Jack Doris from Lucid Smog Disorder was playing bass at the time because they didn't have Michael, and I have a photo of him sitting on the drum kit trying to make it so, or not the drum kit, the kick drum, so that it wouldn't move. Jack.
Oh, yeah.
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 Just,
Poor Jack.
yeah, he's just like, you'll find it on our website, but it's there.
That's the worst day when your drum kit moves away from you as you're playing it.
Yeah.
It starts traveling.
It's,
But yeah, the other bands like Old Time Moonshine was killer. Of those heavy riffs and the vocals.
That guy was quite the singer.
Yeah,
Oh,
really
well,
intense
Amazing
vocals.
Unbelievable.
I was just like, what just happened? That was, oh man.
unbelievable.
Like, yeah, my eyes got real big on that one. I was like, yes.
Yeah.
And we really dug Lousy Riders as well. So
Oh man, they were
Yeah.
so good.
For a 2-piece, they sound
Yep.
massive.
great.
And that's what I appreciate is when a
Yeah.
2-piece just like pulls it out and like, you know, kind of like that Pack AD or Death from Above.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden you're sitting there going, how'd you produce all that? And
Yeah.
they were doing so great. That yeah, Friday was so much fun, and it was a lot of fun too. Just having that kind of collective of bands, but then the audience had a collective of bands out there. So we had Ethereal Tomb guys, we had Slime guys, we had guys from other bands, and it was so neat just to have that collective come and support. And it just felt like we all know music in our own right, and if they didn't like it, they wouldn't have been there. And it was
For
so great to
sure.
see
Yeah.
that support and that like vibe play out,
It was
and
a good
see
vibe.
everybody give their all, like headbanging and stuff, and it was wonderful. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you, Pale Horse.
Oh,
Yeah,
How do we
thank
give
you,
a
Ryan.
shout out,
Oh, man,
because
absolutely.
it's absolutely important.
Pale Horse and Black Throne, man. Like
Yeah.
Ryan and Zach are, like I said at the show, man. They're like angels, and they didn't really fall from heaven. They kind of came from somewhere else.
Yeah.
But
It's a great crew.
we love those guys.
Yeah, totally.
I think we'll wrap it up on that.
Yeah.
Thank you guys
exactly.
so much.
Sending love to everyone.
Yeah, and check out AAWKS. We'll leave all your socials in the description.
Yes, please.
We'll link as many things as possible.
Yes. Check out their new album.
Start an encyclopedia.
Yeah.
I know.
And message them where you want them to play because they'll play in your town.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
All right.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.